Welcome to Vacuum Wars, and to our review of the Matic robot vacuum. Matic is a relatively young, independent robotics company, and they've really reimagined what a robot vacuum mop combo can be, because they've essentially built a robot vacuum from scratch, without overly referencing what anyone else was doing. And they've come up with some genuinely innovative and useful ideas, and in a few ways, the Matic is better than many of its competitors. That said, its uniqueness also works against it in some important ways, in my opinion, and there are a few issues and quirks that are definite drawbacks. We bought one for ourselves and have been testing it in various ways over several weeks. In this video, I'll go over the pros and cons of the Matic, and in the end, reveal if it made the Vacuum Wars Top 20 Robot Vacuum list on our website. So links in the description, and let's get started. Let's start off by talking about some of the features that make the Matic different. One of the more interesting things for me was its vision-first, camera-based approach to navigation rather than LiDAR. Matic uses 5 RGB infrared cameras to see its surroundings. It processes that visual data along with simultaneous localization and mapping to build photorealistic 3-dimensional maps of the space in real time, all of which is stored on board the device for better security, so the maps are not stored in the cloud. And it's really something interesting to watch, how it builds the map of your house. Probably one of the first things people will notice when using it is the way that it moves around your house, which is unlike anything that I've seen. It has 2 huge wheels on either side that move independently. It just seems to glide around the house. It seems really smart, and it does all of this relatively quietly. Matic claims that the robot operates around 55 decibels, which is a lot lower than many of its competitors, and it just has this human-like gracefulness when navigating. I will come back to its navigation later because, although I think it's really cool, I also think it's one of its weaknesses in some ways. But more on that when we get to the cons section. One of the biggest pros for me, though, was its raw performance, like with its cleaning ability. The Matic has a brush roll housing that extends from its body, which includes a single main brush roll, a roller-style mop pad, and a single motorized side brush. And its basic vacuuming ability on hard floors and carpets was good, on par with most other robot vacuums, but where it really stood out was with its raw power. In our suction tests, it had the highest score we've ever recorded, and we've tested nearly 200 robot vacuums. Its suction on max power was about 8 times higher than average. Its airflow was also extremely high, 35 CFM, which would have been the highest score ever, except for the old Electrolux Trilobite, the first robot vacuum ever made, which is another story. That power really showed up in some of our tests. Its carpet deep cleaning ability was well above average, and it got a perfect score on our 2.5-inch flattened pet hair pickup test, which is tough for robot vacuums to do, which shows that its main brush is particularly good at pulling debris from carpet fibers. The mop roller is similar to other roller-style mop pads in that it wets the roller and squeegees the dirty water out as it mops, though instead of storing that dirty water in an onboard water tank, it stores it in a specialized dust bag. More on that later. It also recognizes and avoids carpets during mopping runs using its camera, so it can vacuum and mop houses with a mixture of hard floors and carpets in the same run without getting carpets wet, which is an important feature to have. In terms of its actual mopping ability, in our dried-on stain test, it was significantly above average with 147 points, and it got that score while using a below-average amount of water at 0.8 grams, which is a good thing, for a combined score of 263 points, so its mopping was definitely better than the average robot vacuum. Another strong point was its obstacle avoidance. As I mentioned, it has 5 cameras, at least 3 more than most robot vacuums, and because of its taller profile, it has a higher vantage point, giving it a unique perspective. Matic claims that this lets it detect objects, edges, furniture legs, cords, and other small objects more effectively. In our obstacle avoidance test, though, it only avoided 14 out of the 24 objects, which is a little below the average of 17, but in real-world use at my house, I actually felt it was pretty good at avoiding obstacles. It seemed more deliberate and careful, and I rarely worried about it running over over cords and things. A few other pros worth mentioning: it was very good at resisting hair tangles. In our 7-inch hair test, only about 7% of the hair got wrapped around its brush, compared to the average of 28%, and because it uses a disposable bag for its internal bin, it technically has the largest internal dustbin capacity we've ever seen at 1,000 milliliters compared to the average of 400. But that leads us into the cons. The first con for me is that it doesn't have a multifunctional dock. Pretty much every premium robot vacuum these days has one. A base station that not only charges the robot, but also empties the robot's internal dustbin into a disposable bag, washes and dries the mop pads, refills and empties its mop tanks, and requires very little maintenance from the user. It's one of those convenience features that has become so common in the high-end market that I've come to expect it, and the Matic just doesn't have it. Instead, Matic has built most of the things that are usually in the dock into the robot itself. That includes a disposable dust bag and a clean mop water tank, both housed directly inside the body. And that's why the robot is so tall. It's actually the tallest robot vacuum we've ever tested at 7.8 inches, compared to an average of about 3.7. And that's a big deal because one of the major advantages of having a robot vacuum is the ability to clean under furniture, places most people don't get to with a regular vacuum. The Matic just can't do that in many cases. It's too tall to get under most beds or couches. The lack of an auto-empty dock also leads to another downside. As I mentioned earlier, the roller-style mop pad squeegees out water as it cleans, and all that excess water gets deposited into the same bag that collects the dirt and debris. The bag itself is specialized. It has a plastic bottom so that the water doesn't leak through, unlike standard HEPA-style vacuum bags, but it also means that moisture and debris mix together in the same compartment, and that combination can cause odor issues. In my home tests, after about a week or so of use, I started to notice a pretty strong smell coming from the bag. Matic does use some clever solutions to try to combat this. They include a gelifying salt inside the bag that turns the liquid waste into a gel to keep it from pooling. They also add antibacterial agents and even a light scent to help neutralize odors. The robot also applies a little bit of low-power suction after each cleaning run to help dry things out and prevent mold. And all of that helps, but in my opinion, it's not enough. You're still going to have to change the bag fairly often, more often than you would have with other robot vacuum mops. But probably my biggest con with the Matic is related to one of the things I liked about it the most, which, as I mentioned before, is its utterly unique navigation system. It's really cool to watch navigate around your house, but its navigation is incredibly inefficient. It takes forever to finish a cleaning job. In the navigation efficiency test that we did at the studio, it was about 0.52 square meters per minute, which is significantly below average. When I took it home, it was also unbelievably slow. It took 4 hours to clean our floor plan, which normally takes a robot vacuum about an hour. Even when I did partial cleanings of my house, it would take 2 hours. I don't know, maybe its navigation gets better over time, but in two completely different floor plans, it was very slow. The battery life wasn't particularly impressive either. On paper, its official runtime is relatively low for this price point, and in our battery efficiency tests, it was just about average. But in combination with its slow navigation, it means that it has a really low estimated square feet per charge at 755, and honestly, even that number doesn't fully capture how slow it feels when it's actually cleaning. I do think there's a good chance Matic's navigation will improve in the future with future updates. It's clearly advanced, and I wouldn't be surprised if the system that they've developed becomes one of their biggest strengths down the road, but in its current form, it's just not very efficient. I really like the story of the Matic robot vacuum. I like that an independent company has put out a product like this, and I'm rooting for them. Again, I think its raw performance is extremely good, and if you bought one because you want clean floors, you should be happy with your purchase. It does that really good. And if you can be okay with the extra maintenance that's required for it not having a multifunctional dock, and having to change the bags more often because of the moisture issue, and it not being able to get under most furniture due to its height, and the, in my opinion, extremely inefficient navigation, then it's a good buy. But after adding up all the different scores from our tests, the Matic did not end up making the Vacuum Wars Top 20 Robot Vacuum list on our website, but I really do have high hopes for this company and their future products. Links in the description, and be sure to subscribe to Vacuum Wars before you leave. Thanks for watching. All of the links in the description are updated regularly to reflect our current favorite vacuums in multiple categories. categories. You'll also find links to the Vacuum Wars website in the description, where we have more detailed lists of our favorite products, like our new Top 20 Robot Vacuums list, which is updated weekly.